Imagine standing next to a machine so tall that the tire alone is higher than your house. You look up and it feels like a building is slowly rolling past you. No music, no engine scream. Just deep, low thunder vibrating through the ground. These are not trucks you see on highways. They don't deliver groceries. They don't sit in traffic. These are the biggest dump trucks ever built. Machines so massive that most people don't even know they exist. And once you see them, you never forget them. Today, you're about to discover giants that quietly move mountains while the world barely notices. And trust me, the size only gets more unbelievable from here. Let's start with a truck that shocked the world simply by proving that too big was never a real limit. The Liebherr T282B. When this machine first appeared, people genuinely thought it was a joke. It looked like something designed for a science fiction movie, not a real mine. Built in Germany, the T282B was created for one reason only: carry more rock than anyone thought possible. This truck could haul over 360 tons in a single load. That's more than the weight of a fully loaded Boeing 747. And somehow, it still moves at highway speeds inside massive open pit mines. What makes it even crazier is that it doesn't use a normal transmission. Instead, a giant diesel engine generates electricity, which powers electric motors in the wheels. That means smooth power, constant pulling force, and no hesitation even when fully loaded. Miners loved it because it never felt stressed. Operators describe it like driving a slow-moving skyscraper that somehow listens to you. Even today, many of these trucks are still working non-stop, proving that size doesn't mean fragile. But as huge as this machine is, the next one took a completely different approach to being massive. Now, picture a dump truck that doesn't rely on one engine but two. The BelAZ 75600 from Belarus is a beast designed for brutal conditions where failure isn't an option. This truck was built to survive extreme cold, heavy loads, and endless shifts. With two massive engines working together, it produces insane pulling power while staying surprisingly reliable. It can carry over 320 tons at once, and it does this day after day in some of the harshest mining environments on Earth. What makes this truck special isn't just size, it's balance. Engineers designed it so the load spreads perfectly across the chassis, reducing stress and extending its life. From the outside, it looks wide, low, and unstoppable, like it's glued to the ground. Operators say it feels calm, even under maximum load. No drama. No struggle. Just steady movement. And that's what made it legendary. Mines didn't just buy one. They built entire fleets around it. But even this twin-engine giant wasn't the end of the story. Because next comes a truck that redefined what efficiency means at an absurd scale. The Caterpillar 797F. This is one of the most famous ultra-class dump trucks ever built. And for good reason. It doesn't use electric drive like many others. Instead, it sticks to a massive mechanical drivetrain powered by a V2O diesel engine that produces over 4,000 horsepower. That engine alone is larger than most cars. The 797F can haul around 400 tons in a single trip. To put that into perspective, that's like carrying 260 cars at once. And yet, it's known for being reliable, simple to maintain, and brutally effective. Caterpillar built this truck to work non-stop in the biggest mines on the planet. Gold mines, copper mines, iron mines. Places where downtime costs millions every hour. The sound of its engine is unforgettable, a deep, steady roar that echoes across entire valleys. Many operators say it feels like the truck is alive, like it knows its job and refuses to quit. Even today, decades after its first version, the 797 remains a symbol of pure mechanical power. But just when you think mechanical giants reached their peak, technology stepped in and pushed things even further. Meet the Komatsu 960E. This truck looks clean, modern, almost calm, but don't let that fool you. Underneath, it's a monster. Built in Japan, the 960E uses diesel-electric technology to deliver massive torque with incredible control. It can haul over 360 tons while keeping fuel use lower than many older designs. That matters when a mine runs 24 hours a day. What made the 960E special was its balance between size, intelligence, and reliability. The truck constantly monitors itself. Temperature, load weight, terrain, everything is adjusted in real time. Operators sit high above the ground in a quiet, insulated cab that feels more like a control room than a truck. Some versions of this machine have even been converted to autonomous operation, driving themselves with no human inside. Imagine a 360-ton monster navigating a mine completely on its own. That's not the future. That's already happening. But as impressive as smart giants are, the next truck on this list didn't just break records. It shattered them. Because now we're entering territory where the word truck almost feels wrong. The BelAZ 75710 is not just the largest dump truck ever built. It's the largest land vehicle in human history. Nothing on wheels comes close. This machine was designed to carry 450 tons in a single load. That's nearly 500,000 kilograms. It uses two massive engines, 8 driven wheels, and an electric drive system that delivers power smoothly across all axles. Each tire alone weighs more than a city bus. Standing next to it feels unreal. People look like ants beside it. Buildings look small. The dump bed is so wide you could park multiple cars inside it. And yet, despite its insane size, it moves with control and stability. Engineers didn't just make it big, they made it smart. Sensors constantly adjust suspension and power delivery to keep everything stable. This truck became so iconic that it turned into a national symbol. It appears on stamps, it has statues, and only a handful of them exist in the world, all working in strategic mines where nothing smaller would make sense. You might think there's nothing bigger, nothing crazier than this, but you'd be wrong. Before you think all giant dump trucks are built only for wide-open mines under perfect conditions, let me stop you right there. Some of the biggest trucks ever made were designed to work where machines usually fail. Places with burning heat, freezing cold, thin air, and terrain that looks more like another planet than Earth. And one of the first to prove this point came from a place you might not expect. Deep in the deserts of Africa, engineers faced a serious problem. Mines were expanding, loads were getting heavier, but normal trucks couldn't survive the heat and dust for long. So they built something different. The Euclid R170 wasn't the biggest by today's standards, but when it arrived, it was a monster. It was designed to run non-stop under extreme heat, carrying massive loads without overheating or breaking down. Its engine was simple, brutally strong, and easy to repair in the middle of nowhere. Operators loved it because it felt unkillable. Even after long shifts in brutal conditions, it kept going. Many of these trucks stayed in service far longer than expected, becoming legends in remote mining regions. And while it paved the way, what came next raised the bar even higher. Now imagine driving a dump truck at high altitude, where the air is thin and engines struggle to breathe. That's exactly where the Komatsu 930E earned its reputation. This truck became one of the most trusted ultra-class dump trucks on the planet. It could haul over 320 tons. But what made it famous wasn't just capacity, it was consistency. The 930E could operate day and night in places like the Andes Mountains, where oxygen levels are low and temperatures swing wildly. It used diesel-electric drive to keep torque steady, even when engines normally lose power at high altitude. Some mining companies trusted this truck so much that they built entire operations around it. There are stories of 930Es running for years with minimal downtime, quietly moving mountains while operators focused on production instead of repairs. But even reliability had limits, and the next truck was built to push past them. In Australia, mines stretch for miles under a blazing sun. Loads are massive, distances are long, and efficiency matters more than anything. That's where the Caterpillar 793F came in. This truck might not look as extreme as others, but it earned respect through pure performance. With a payload over 240 tons, it struck a perfect balance between size, speed, and cost. Mines loved it because it moved faster than larger trucks and consumed less fuel per ton. Operators often say it feels agile, even though it's still enormous. It became one of the most widely used large dump trucks in the world, quietly proving that sometimes the smartest giant isn't the biggest one. But as impressive as BelAZ is, engineers were already dreaming bigger. Then came a truck built not just for size, but for survival in the coldest places on Earth. The BelAZ 7558 was designed to operate in Siberia, where winter temperatures can drop so low that metal becomes brittle and oil turns thick like syrup. This truck had reinforced systems, special insulation, and heating solutions that kept it alive in conditions that would shut down normal machines in minutes. It hauled massive loads across frozen ground, ice and snow, day after day. Operators often said the truck felt more reliable in the cold than smaller vehicles. It became a lifeline for mines in extreme climates, proving that giant machines could adapt to nature instead of fighting it. But cold wasn't the only challenge engineers wanted to conquer. Because next came a truck that focused on efficiency in a way that shocked the industry. The Hitachi A5000AC3. This machine didn't just rely on brute force. It used advanced electric drive systems to maximize energy use and reduce waste. It could haul over 300 tons while consuming less fuel than many competitors. The braking system even regenerated energy, feeding it back into the system instead of wasting it as heat. Mines loved it not just for power, but for long-term savings. Operators praised its smooth control and quiet operation. It didn't roar like older trucks. It hummed, steady and controlled, like a giant machine that knew exactly what it was doing. And yet, even this balance of power and intelligence wasn't the strangest thing engineers ever built. Because somewhere along the way, someone asked a wild question. What if we built a dump truck that didn't just go forward and backward like everything else? What if it could maneuver in places where normal giants couldn't even turn around? That idea led to some of the most unusual designs ever seen. Articulated dump trucks on steroids. Massive machines with pivoting frames that could twist and bend to follow terrain. They weren't the biggest in raw numbers, but they could go where no other giant could. Narrow valleys, steep slopes, uneven ground. These machines became problem solvers, used in places where traditional ultra-class trucks were useless. And while they stayed mostly out of the spotlight, their impact was huge. But the real turning point came when automation entered the picture. Mines started experimenting with trucks that could drive themselves. No driver, no cab needed. Just sensors, GPS, and control systems guiding machines heavier than buildings. Some of the largest dump trucks on Earth now operate completely autonomously. They follow precise routes, avoid obstacles, and work non-stop without fatigue. Productivity increased, accidents dropped. And suddenly, these giants weren't just powerful. They were intelligent. Watching a 300-ton truck move silently with no one inside feels unreal. Like watching the future roll past you. And this shift opened the door to something even more extreme. Because once humans no longer needed to sit inside, engineers realized they could push size and design even further. Cab placement changed, weight distribution improved. Systems became more optimized. And that led directly to the newest generation of monsters that make earlier giants look outdated. Trucks built not just to carry more, but to think faster, last longer, and work smarter than anything before them. By now, you might be thinking that once trucks crossed the 300 and 400-ton mark, there was nowhere left to go. That engineers had already pushed metal, engines, and physics as far as they could. But that assumption is exactly what the next generation of dump trucks destroyed. Because instead of slowing down, the race for size and efficiency went into overdrive. One of the first machines to make people question everything again came from China. The XCMG XDE 440 didn't arrive quietly. It showed up with a clear message. China was no longer just catching up. It was ready to compete at the very top. This truck was designed to haul over 400 tons, placing it directly in the heavyweight class dominated by only a few machines on Earth. What made it stand out wasn't just capacity, but how it handled power. Instead of relying on brute force alone, it used an advanced diesel-electric system that delivered smooth, constant torque. Operators described it as shockingly controlled for its size. The truck didn't lurch, it didn't struggle. It moved like a calculated machine that knew its limits and refused to cross them. Mines quickly noticed its efficiency, especially in long downhill holes where regenerative braking recovered energy instead of wasting it. This wasn't just a giant. It was a smart giant. But while China was proving its strength, other manufacturers were refining monsters that could survive where almost nothing else could. Enter the Komatsu 980E5. This wasn't just an upgrade, it was a complete evolution. Designed for the most demanding open-pit mines on Earth, the 980E5 could haul over 360 tons while maintaining stability on uneven terrain. Its suspension system actively adjusted to load weight and ground conditions in real time. That meant less stress on the frame, longer service life, and smoother rides for operators. Inside the cab, everything felt controlled and calm, even when the truck was carrying enough material to bury a small neighborhood. Some versions of this truck were built to operate at extreme altitudes, where thin air steals engine power. Yet the 980E5 kept performing day after day, proving that engineering could outsmart nature. And then there was a truck that many people outside the mining world still don't know exists. The Terex Mount 6300AC. This machine was massive, aggressive, and unapologetically powerful. It could haul over 360 tons and was built to survive punishment. Its electric drive system delivered relentless torque, and its frame was reinforced to handle constant abuse. Operators often described it as one of the toughest trucks they'd ever driven. It wasn't the quietest. It wasn't the smoothest, but it was dependable. And in mining, dependability is everything. Even after Terex sold its mining division, these trucks continued working, quietly proving their worth long after the spotlight moved on. At this point, something interesting started happening. Engineers weren't just asking how big a truck could be. They were asking how long it could last. Some of these machines were running for decades. Not years. Decades. Mines began tracking service hours like milestones. 50,000 hours. 70,000 hours. 100,000 hours. These trucks weren't disposable. They were long-term investments. And the data showed something surprising. Bigger didn't mean weaker. In many cases, these ultra-class trucks were more reliable than smaller machines because everything was overbuilt. Axles, frames, suspensions, nothing was pushed to its limit. Everything was designed with margin. And then came the trucks that blurred the line between machine and system. Entire fleets connected through data. Every movement tracked. Every load measured. Trucks communicating with shovels, crushers, and control centers. A mine became a living network of machines, and the dump truck was its backbone. Watching a fleet of 300-ton trucks move in perfect rhythm is hypnotic. No wasted motion, no hesitation. Just endless cycles of load, haul, dump, repeat. This is where raw size met coordination. But even in this world of optimization, engineers still chased extremes. One project in particular became almost mythical. A truck designed to handle loads so heavy that normal road design had to change around it. Reinforced haul roads. Special turning zones. Entire mine layouts built to accommodate one machine. That's how influential these giants became. They didn't adapt to the environment. The environment adapted to them.